time to speak about Tefilat HaDerech. A, there's good chakir over here, and B, the ramifications are practical halacha. So let's begin. And source number one. The source for Tefilat HaDerech is the Gemara Masechet Brachot. Amar le Eliyahu l'Rav Yehuda Achu de Rav Salach Hasida. Eliyahu said to Rav Yehuda, the brother of Salach Hasida, he said the following: Lo tirtach v'lo techtei. Right? Rashi explained that Rashi didn't I'm not Rashi, but don't get angry, and you don't sin. Right? That would probably be a good Gemara for Rabbini to talk about Hilchos Deos, right? Don't get angry, stay out of trouble. Lo tarvi v'lo techtei. Don't get drunk and don't sin. That's good, Musar. Right? No, once here has ever done that. No. When you go out to a journey, ask your Creator and go. What does that mean? Ask your Creator. The right thing to acquire that's a Creator, and go. Rabbi Noam Himelstein, Zu Tefilat HaDerech. That is Tefilat HaDerech. Anybody who goes on a journey has to daven Tefilat HaDerech. My Tefilat HaDerech, what is it Tefilat HaDerech? And the Nusach, pretty similar to what we have today. Maybe before you Hashem Elokeinu Shalokai, Shetolicheini L'Shalom, you should take me in peace. I should walk in peace. I should return in peace. I should be saved from any enemy or anybody lying in ambush. And my actions should have beracha. And I should be find favor in those who see me. A person should always can't speak English. A person should always participate. No, sorry, but he should be participating with the tzibur. He should include himself in the community, right? How should he say? Right? In other words, the Tefilat that was presented over here, if you notice, it was singular, right? And Abai says, no, that's not the way to go. Include yourself in the tzibur. Speak about the community, about the tzibur. Put a vav, not a yud. And that's what we have today, of course. When should you pray this prayer? When the time you go on your journey. That's when you should say. Ad kama, and this is the key line. Until when? Ad parsa. It's about 4 kilometers. Okay, parsa is 4 kilometers. The question is, of course, what does it mean? Ad kama. When the Gemara says ad kama, 4 kilometers, what does it mean? What do you think it means?
You have until 4 kilometers. You have 4 kilometers to say that it's 11, and afterwards you should be saying it before the 4 kilometers, since you left your place.
Really? That's a very interesting interpretation that Mr. Robert just suggested. You hear that? He said until the parsa you should say it, and afterwards you shouldn't say it.
Correct.
Interesting. Anybody else have another? Yes, Lawrence.
Until you leave 4 kilometers outside the city, you don't have to once you leave 4 kilometers.
That's actually diametrically opposed to what he suggested.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Favor.
A journey only qualifies for the over 4 kilometers.
Oh, and I would have, to be honest, gone with favor's option right now. Okay. Because if you read the Gemara, that's what it sounds like, right? When do you pray? From the time you go on the journey. Ad kama, what's a journey? A journey is a parsa. I'm not going to keep saying 4 kilometers. A parsa. Okay? Because if you walk out of your house and you go into the makolet, like, oh, here's something. That's not a journey, right? You know what I'm saying? It's got to be a journey. What's a journey? Go for a parsa. That's a journey. That, I think, is the intuitive understanding of the Gemara. If you look in Rashi, so look, 3 lines into the Rashi. Ad parsa. Says Rashi, avalo la'achar shalach parsa. But don't say it after you've gone a parsa. Who said that? That's Roberts. Right? That's Roberts. And then he brings the back. Sorry?
We learned this Gemara at night.
Did you now?
Before the beracha.
Of course. You're fair. So you're shining, you'd be holding it. Did you notice that the Machok Rashi back? Oh. No, this is the key. The Achaz goes to the bag, it's an really good work. Ad kam yevakesh leilech, and this is favored kadesh sheyeh tzarich litpalel ad parsa. How much should you go which would require a Tefilah and a parsa? Even if you only had to do a parsa, that would already generate the Tefilat HaDerech. HaDerech pachot parsa. If you're going less, then simply Tefilat. Okay? So we have two interpretations of what ad kama means. Okay? One, Behag, favor. Two, Rashi, Roberts. Okay? In other words, one interpretation means that, and I'm going to begin with favor Behag, and he says that he means what's a minimal journey. The minimal journey is 4 kilometers, is a parsa. And Rashi Robert says, no, you only have a parsa in which to say, but if you've traveled more than a parsa, then you can't say it anymore. Yes?
There's really specifics like where, like the 4 kilometers be inside the city? Because
We're talking about outside, we're talking about between cities for sure.
Okay.
I'm going to get to that later on, if there's time. Right, on both sides. Let me ask you a question. The Bahag makes sense to you? The Bahag makes sense, the minimal journey, does that make sense, yes or no?
yes.
That makes sense, Nachon? I think it makes sense. Right? Also reads well in the Gemara. And also the logic makes sense. Right? What's a journey? Like I said, you walk out the door. It's a 2-minute walk, it's not a journey. There's got to be some... The Gemara, by the way, doesn't say that you're praying... It doesn't explicitly say that you're praying against dangers. But you can understand from the context. And we're praying to God to save us from whatever things would happen. And you walk out 2 steps. That's not a journey. A journey is like a parsa. That makes sense, yes.
When we're talking about Rashi's opinion, does he specify when you should say the beracha?
No, as soon as you leave, within the parsa. The Gemara says, but within the parsa. But I want to ask me a question, please, on Rashi. Ask me a question, Rashi. Yes.
Which one is it?
No. On Rashi. Again. Rashi says you have within a parsa to say it, and after parsa you can't say it anymore. You can't ask the question because you don't draft. Yes.
Why?
Sorry.
Why a parsa?
Okay, the Gemara says a parsa. Maybe you can say that's the beginning of the journey, but something worse than that. Yes.
Why is that a cutoff for when you can stop saying it?
Not why is that cutoff? Why is it parsa? More than that. Sharpen a bit more.
Why is there?
Yeah, why would you not be allowed to say it?
What's going on over here? I don't understand. Some of the Rishonim, when this is the question, everybody goes crazy about Rashi. In some of the words of one of the other Rishonim, he says, I don't understand. You do something wrong. So you do something wrong? His words, there's a classic phraseology. You eat garlic. You eat more garlic? No, if you eat garlic, your breath smells. Brush your teeth. Don't have more garlic. I'm spill anyway. Suppose you have a 10 parsa journey. A long journey. You pass the first parsa. Right? Can't do anymore. Sorry. Most of the journey is ahead of you. Why the heck would you be allowed to do that? It makes no sense. What's wrong with this? Yes, Gabel.
I was thinking because I feel like according to the Gemara, like you would have to like kind of like in any other like you're someone's clearly say you would give before. I don't understand like how you could do it like on the kind of like trying to get Rashi's point.
Because you want to do it at the beginning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But why?
You're asking.
No, I know. Say the thing I understand. It says Mishoshim Alech HaDerech. My problem is not why I said at the beginning, but why after a certain amount of time you cannot say it anymore. That's my problem. Yes, you want to just an answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's because the blessing is on like the whole journey, and because you've already done part of the journey, you can't bless something that's already happened. Like
You're not blessing.
You can't wait for something that's already happened.
You're not done.
You can't retroactively.
But there's still like 100 kilometers to go.
But it seems
What's wrong with that?
It seems like the blessing is the whole journey.
What about like on food?
Okay, then if you do it in the third kilometer.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, by the way.
If you have 5
That's a good
pints of
comparison.
gasoline, you still need
Nachon, you can mean like yes.
Does Rashi mean like
Both sides.
does
Yes.
Rashi mean like a parsa away as the crow flies from your, like where you started, or just like a parsa of travel?
From the when you leave the city apartment. Yes.
Why can't I just, like, if I missed the blessing, I can make a pit stop at another city and then say it again?
I'll talk about another city later on. Again, if there's time. Yes.
Would Rashi have you bless each individual parsa?
No, for sure not. No.
So just like the first four.
Okay, yes. Okay, we go back to a little bit. Okay, let's go back to a little bit. So there's a couple of options which I found of understanding Rashi. Look at source number 3. Rabbi Noam is simply not willing to accept Rashi at face value. To be honest, actually, I'm not so sure if I said something correctly. I saw this in various opinions in the Rishonim. I'm not sure if they're saying in Rashi or they're saying it or not in Rashi, but look at his words. אבל אינו כמו שאומרים שאם לא יתפלל בתוך פרסה, לא יתפלל אחר כך. So it cannot be that if you didn't say the tefillah in one parsa, you're done. You can't have it afterwards. זה לא ייתכן. There you go, straight up. It can't be. He's just not willing to accept that. The כל זמן שיש לו עדיין ללכת, as long as he has time, as he has much more journey to go, מחויב יבין התפילת. He's obligated. He's got 100-kilometer journey. He went 4 kilometers, he didn't know what. Now there's nothing to pray for? What is this? Of course he's obligated. אלא יש לומר לכתחילה, לאחר שיצא מן העיר בתוך הפרסה הראשונה. לכתחילה means the ideal. The ideal is he should say within the first parsa. ואם שכח ולומר אותה בתוך הראשונה, and if he forgot and he didn't say within the first part, אומר אותה אחר כך על מה שיש לו ללכת. He should say it afterwards on whatever he has to go. בזמן שרבי ממנו הדרך עד שיתקרב למקום שהולך, he doesn't say the exact amount, as long as there are a lot of journey to go, and until you get really close, he doesn't say what that is, we'll talk about that maybe later on, until you get really close to the city, to your destination, then already you can't say it, but generally speaking, he said he would. So how does the Rabbeinu Yonah resolve it? He says very simply, he's reformulating Rashi. Right? Rashi sort of never meant to say, it's either the first parsa or nothing. It's not a absolute total loss. He said, lechatchila. This is when you should say it. But you can continue saying it. Yes.
Is there a possible answer to say that there's another Gemara that discusses when you pray for something, saying when you pray for something, so you can hear that, let's say a house is on fire in the city, you can't pray that that's not your house on fire. There's that idea. So maybe it's a similar idea that once you're at the first parsa, it's okay, you can still pray for the journey.
I like the way you think. I do, kol hakavod, but I do think it's different because that's something that's happened already. This is not something that's happened already. This is something that's still happening. It's ongoing. So that's why I think it's different. The journey is still going.
Your journey is ready.
You got 100 more kilometers to go. Yes.
Could Rashi consider after you walk the parsa, does he consider that? After you walk the parsa, does Rashi consider that maybe one completed journey?
No, that never was your intent. I find that's very difficult. Your intent is to travel 100 kilometers. Your destination is 100 kilometers away. I don't see how that could be considered one. Yes?
Originally the whole idea of Tefilat HaDerech was aside from a list and all that. So, list and robbers. So, could it be that Rashi's, since one parsa is preemptive measure before you actually get to them, so once you get to them, there's no point on it?
What do you mean once you get to them?
As in, let's say, minimum, let's take a parsa until you actually get to the bulk of, the dangers. So you say that Tefilat HaDerech as a preemptive measure. But then, once you're past that already, there's no point because you're already
I understand what you're saying. I still think it's a point because I hear you saying, but I still think it's a point. I don't know. It's hard for me to understand otherwise. In Zulkin source number 4, the Ra'an the Mordechai absolutely understanding Rashi Kipshuto, and they don't really provide to be honest, to my mind, a good explanation. Says the Ra'an source number 4, Eimat Matzle, when you daven Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Chizim Mishash Yechaz B'derech, from the time that you begin in the journey, Ad Kama Parsa Pirush. שיש לו להתפלל באותה פרסה, he should daven in the parsa, ואם לא יתפלל באותה שלח פרסה, if he didn't daven until he went to parsa, עבר זמנה, the time has passed, ושוב אין לו להתפלל אותה, and he cannot daven it any longer. That's straight up. There's no two ways of understanding. This is not l'chatchila b'diavad, this is straight up. And if you look at the Mordechai, look at the wording of the Mordechai. Hevei meuvat lo yuchal litkon. You guys might have passed the process sometime this year. It's used when a person's done something wrong, it cannot be fixed. Meuvat lo yuchal litkon. Something which is twisted, which is crooked, cannot be fixed. You cannot misunderstand the Ra'ah and the Mordechai. They were very adamant. This is not a l'chatchila b'diavad situation. It is what it is. Within the parsa you can. After the parsa you can't. I don't see them providing, to my mind, a good explanation. I believe it there. The Pnei Yeshua in source number 5 has a suggestion. Maybe you guys dance around it, but you really say it. I'll read the Pnei Yeshua. I'll read the Pnei Yeshua inside. B'Gemara, Ad Kama Amar Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Chizda Parsar B'Yoshashi Avalo lachar shalach. First, avalo lachar shalach parsa. You can't say it after a parsa. But everybody goes crazy about Rashi. What's the logic? After a parsa, you can't daven Tefilat HaDerech anymore. You're planning to go for another bunch of parsos. You can't pray the Tefilah anymore. It makes no sense. Everybody dumps Rashi and they pass like that. We just don't understand Rashi. Look at this Yeshua. Who am I? Not worthy of saying it. But I'll say pshat. I can say pshat and Rashi. From the Chonim and Brurim, v'nimu ko'imo. His words are correct, and he has good logic. The time of Rabbi Ika, there's a great reason. Because after a parsa, you consider that you're on the way. So he brings another example, which I'm not just right now, because no comparison, but he says, Pshit, what's the pshat? Ein datom yushevet alav. He is simply unsettled. Shekol hadrachim b'chezkat sakana. Because journeys are dangerous. I'm trying to think could that come close to what you're saying. I'm just trying to think right now. I'm not sure we can decide it. And that's what you should have done. A person should not daven if his mind isn't settled. First of all, a big musr is that, isn't it? Right? You shouldn't daven if your mind isn't settled. If our mind settled when we daven, goodness gracious, what a big musr. Right? It's much shitty. But you shouldn't daven if your mind isn't settled. Right? After Marv every night. So there's a guy who says that Divrei Halacha. And he was saying last night the Halacha after Marv that when you daven, you say Shmoneh, you have to be focused. So you shouldn't be holding things. You know that you shouldn't. You can hold a sitter, but I think you shouldn't be holding things are not related. You shouldn't even hold a kid, things like that. Got to be, mind to be focused, mind to be settled for Shmoneh for davening. Says Ibn Yeshua. It's not. I'm trying to. It's like the first you're getting into it. But a person, you're really like, okay, I'm traveling, I think maybe it's sort of connected with this thing.
I said that was a preemptive measure, because like once you're already past the parsa, you're in danger already. Yeah. He's saying like... He's saying
at the beginning you're sort of getting into things, but further you're like, your mind is really, you're like focusing on the journey, you're like looking at the signs, you're just not focused. And that's why you shouldn't daven, that's what he says.
Two things. Is the Pnei Yeshua's language more in like a the b'diavad thing? Like you shouldn't, but like it's not like the Mordechai was like it's usher. Like,
yeah, I don't think he says the chutz b'diavad. He says maybe he shouldn't. Look, he says usher. Ain't that Tommy Shevet? Ali Tefilat, not to that.
But there are other you're allowed to. There are other things you're allowed to say while you're on a journey. What do you
mean, other things?
There are parts of Shema that you can say that while you're walking.
But okay, that's not Tefilat. Not Tefilat. You're not supposed to say Tefilat.
Yeah, and then my other thing is just an explanation for maybe why, if you usher after a different explanation, could it be that Tefilat HaDerech is more of an asking of permission from Hashem, and once you've already started, you can't really ask for if you can't.
Where are you getting that from?
The Gemara.
All right, that's source number 6. You're jumping the gun. You can't take my shirt, man. I know you're great. Yeah, Campbell. That's the main focus on the shirt. We're just getting warmed up. Yes, Campbell. Very good. What?
Like you said, with the mind being unsettled, big argument for any time you're doing.
What's hard?
How do you even say it when you're doing drama during the first place? That's another argument why you say it.
No, that's what you say at the beginning. In the beginning, your mind is still focused. After you enter, you're less settled. Yes.
I'm pretty sure there are other examples as well, but the Gemara in Beracha, when it talks about what you can interrupt Shmoneh Esrei for, tells the story of a rabbi that was traveling and he was saying, and on the road he moved over a little bit and you were saying Shmoneh Esrei. So Kal V'chomer shouldn't you be able to say Tefilat HaDerech? You just move to this side, you say Tefilat HaDerech, and then you keep going.
Okay. I'm not sure if you've done that option. I know it's a good question. Interesting. Yes.
First of all, according to Mordechai, when did we say it in the journey?
When what?
When did we say it in the journey?
When?
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Yeah, what do we work on?
That's what Rosh, yeah. That's easy enough.
Also,
Yeah.
like adding on to what Ethan said, like 4 kilometers is already a while. So I feel like you're already in the journey of going.
You gotta cut off some. You gotta make.
And also, like a lot of times you're more nervous at the start of something, and then once you like get into it, you're much less nervous.
I can't argue with psychology. Yes.
What about if your arm's playing and like by the time you take it off,
So
like,
you're
4 kilometers before?
okay. So if we get to this, because Baruch gives us the third page says, is it a function of distance or of time? That's your question. So we'll see if we get there. But both say before we get to source number 6, which is Noam's Chiddush. So let's just review what we saw. Okay. Let's review what we see. We see the source for Tefilat HaDerech Gemara Brachot. We see that the Gemara had said Ad Kama Ad Parsa, and we saw Machloket Rashi and Bahag how to understand that question and that answer. According to the Bahag, Ad Parsa is a minimum journey amount of a minimum distance that would generate an obligation to say Tefilat HaDerech. Less than that is not considered to be a journey. And Rashi says you only have within that Parsa to say the Tefilat HaDerech, and afterwards you can't. We explained that Rashi, that we said that Bahag is more intuitive and understandable, but Rashi is more complicated, and everybody asks, why couldn't you say afterwards? We saw several options. One is that you might simply reinterpret Rashi. That seems to be a little bit what the Rabbi Noam tried to say. He only meant l'chachila b'diavad. You could take Rashi at face value, and that's what Mordechai and the Rasa, but I think it's more difficult. Or you could find, I like Rashi, I got a good reason, and that's the Yeshua. But I'd like to take what Noam said right now, which blows this whole thing open. And that is source number 6. Looks at the Meiri. V'yesh mefarshim. Im lo berech b'tziyato mevarcha ad parsa. If you didn't make the bracha at soon you live, you meant to say it as soon as you live. And if you didn't leave it as you got into you started walking, mevarcha ad parsa. You can say the bracha to Misham ve'ilach. Ein zen nimlach bekono ve'ino omra. Okay, this is a different understanding. What is the purpose of Tefilat HaDerech? According to the Bahag, presumably it's a simple prayer that God should protect you on the journey. A journey is defined as a parsa, it's 4 kilometers. According to Rashi, it's not so much I'll qualify this in a second. It's not so much a prayer to protect, that God should protect us, as a request. This is Noam said before. Oh, he's gone. Right? Oh, there he is. Right? As Noam picked up, the wording in the Gemara was Himalech bekoncha v'tzei. If you go back to the Rashi, source number 2, the last word on the first line, Tol Reshut. Ask permission. In effect, what's going on according to Rashi, this is the essence of Tefilat HaDerech. We have a whole new insight what Tefilat HaDerech is. There's lots of things we do in this world within a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want to eat something, you say beracha. It's Hashem's food. You cannot partake of Hashem's world before bracha. You have to ask for shut. That's in that sense what it is. You want a journey, you want to relocate within this world from point A to point B. Ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu permission. Now, how do you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu permission? Hashem, can I take a 362 bus today? I'm not yet in the Madrega that I'm... HaKadosh Baruch Hu, can I do something? And he goes, yeah, take this bus. It's a quicker bus. Because I'm not a problem. So you, the format of asking Hashem is a Tefilat. Because when a person prays to Hashem that I should go from A to B, and again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, Baruch Hashem. So the Tefilah, the format takes the wording of a Tefilah, of a bakasha, so to speak, but the essence of the Tefilah, as Noam said, is a bakasha, total Reshut, like Rashi says. But now Rashi makes brilliant sense. Of course you only have a parsa. Right? Because within a parsa you're on the journey. Once you pass the parsa, you're already going to the journey. The point is to ask permission. Right? You guys ever ask your parents to permission to do something when you've done it already? Right? And sort of retroactively. Oh, thanks mom, I did that right then. I'm glad you said okay. It's not so English. Right? You want to ask your parents to do something, you say, can I do something? Then you do it. That's what's going on. So the Machloket Rashi Bahag isn't just a machlok to interpret ad kam ad parsa. The machlok in Rashi and the Bahag is how to understand the essence of Tefilat HaDerech. Is Tefilat HaDerech a prayer to protect us on the derech? That's all it is. That's the Bahag. Or according to Rashi, is the essence of the prayer of bakashat rashut. I'm asking Hashem for permission to travel. First, we'll sing this for you.
Isn't the entire reason a parsa is like 4 kilometers long because how far a person could walk in an hour? So shouldn't we say like instead of being like 4 parsas, it should be, you should say to the derech if you know you're going to be traveling for more than an hour?
No. Again, that was asked before already. It's a question of distance or time. I'll try to, again, because Baruch Hu should give us time and we'll relate to that if we have a chance. Yes?
I mean, I think this is kind of the same thing me and some other people asked me before. Let's say I have a cookie I'm not supposed to eat, and I take a bite out of the cookie. Should I not go?
What do you mean not supposed to eat? It's not tray cookies.
No. Let's say I'm a child and I have a cookie I'm not supposed to eat. My parents told me not to. I take a bite out of it.
Yeah.
It's better for me to eat the rest of it without asking them than to go ask them like, hey, I'm sorry I took a bite, and I still have the rest of it. Should I not? I'm saying, shouldn't you not still go ask permission for the rest of your journey?
No, it's done already.
It's the whole journey, but that was related before. If it's done already, then you're not. Then obviously you can't say Tefilah on it.
I understand you, and I understand Rashi. According to the Bag, if it's a prayer for protection on the journey, as long as the journey is dangerous, and the journey is dangerous to the end of the journey, presumably you would say the prayer. According to Rashi, only at the beginning of an action, not at the end, not in the middle. Okay, I understand your logic. I understand, but apparently that's the way. That seems to be the way the Miriam understands Rashi, and I think that makes sense. Halacha l'maaseh. Look at source number 7. So the Shulchan Aruch paskin straight up like the Bahag. Says the Shulchan Aruch, source number 7. Omer ota achar shechzik baderech. You say Tefilat when you start the journey. Ve'ein l'omra elim ken yesh lo lelech parsa. That's the Bahag, right? You only say it if you have a parsa to journey. About pachot mi parsa, if you have less than that journey to go, then lo yachtom bebaruch. Then you can say, but you shouldn't say b'shem malchus. Then the Ramah is in brackets. U'lechatchila yomer oto beparsa rishona Rashi and Rabbi Noam. There you go. So the Ramah says you should be machmir like Rashi, which is to say it within the first parsha if you can. V'im shachach milomra continues the Shulchan Aruch yomer ota kozmat bederech. Obviously, you say it as long as you can. As long as you're on the journey. If you forget at the beginning, unless you come within the parsa of the city, and then at that point of time you could say it without a beracha. So the Shulchan Aruch paskin like Bahag, Ramah says the you should paskin like you should behave like Rashi. Now, there's a couple of questions here that are generated by this debate between Rashi and the Bahag. So the Bahag, we understand. There's a minimum of a parsa which generates a journey. If the Tefilah is for protection from the journey, you have to define it as a journey. Less than a parsa, not a journey. Would Rashi require that? Again, Rashi says you only stay within a parsa. But does Rashi require a minimal journey, a minimal amount, a minimal distance that would require a Tefilah? Yes or no? What do you think?
I don't think Rashi would agree with the Bahag as well. He would say both 1 and 2. It has to be at least 4 kilometers.
You think what? But Rashi doesn't have a source for this. But if he understood the Gemara at Parsa, that means he doesn't have a source for a minimum distance as does the Bahag.
But if
so where do you get it from?
If you're traveling 100 kilometers, and in the first 4 is the beginning, and it's got to be more than 4 of your journey, then you're...
That's Rashi. But what happens if you're going on a 2 kilometer journey? No. According to Rashi, would you need it?
Probably yes. Bahag for sure no. Rashi probably yes.
Exactly. No, so the Bahag for sure no, because Bahag says it's a minimum of a journey. So Yafeh. But according to Rashi, so you're asking Rishut. Does that make a difference how long the journey is? Would it make a difference, Yashama?
It does. You define what is a journey. So it's not a journey, then why would you need that question?
Okay. You're saying a svara. So look at the Orchos Chaim in source number 8. No, before we get to Orchos Chaim. Actually, no, go back to source number 4 for a second. I didn't read the end of source number 4. If you look at source number 4, where the Ra'ah, quoting Rashi, Shita said, Avar's in the second line, Avar's Mal, Shuven Li Palelota, says Rav, Balinyan HaDerech, in the end of the second line, Lo Natnu Lo Shiur Lekama Derech Mi Palelota. Straight up, he says there's no minimum distance. Now, again, you could say that makes sense, because if it's a question of asking reshut, whenever you leave the house to go on a journey, you should ask reshut. I mean, like I said before, at some point in time, I don't know what the answer would be if this is really important, but if you take this opinion of the Rav, and if you're just crossing the street to go to, you want to drive to 1 kilometer to a makolet. So that, yes, that no, he says no. What happens if you're literally walking, I don't know, 100 steps out of the city? Also, I admit that according to Rashi, there's formulation over here that there's no shiur at all. At some point in time, there's got to be, I can't believe that 10 steps would generate according to Rashi. But look at source number 4 in the HaDerech Chaim. The im yesh lo lechet parsa v'shachach lo omra yachol lo omra ad parsa. That's Rashi. You can say within the first parsa. V'yitpalelota b'hamad, you should stand up. U'b'toch parsa yitpalelota, you should say within the first parsa. V'yachton l'char parsa yitpalelota v'hayachton. That presumably is based on Rashi. That you can only say with the proper Tefilat with the Shem Hashem within a parsa. The yesh mefarshim ad kama yirtzeh lelechem yitcheh b'bracha zot parsa apachom yitparsa yitpalelota, and that's what libahag. The Orchos Chaim seems to try to hold the rope on both ends. He both quotes Rashi that says until a parsa, and he quotes the back until what's the journey? A place of a parsa. So I'm just saying that according to Rashi, it's not so clear. The back I understand fully. According to Rashi, is there minimal shita or not? I just don't know. Again, the Ra'ah said no minimal shita, with no minimal amount whatsoever. The Orchos Chaim said a parsa. Where do you get it from? Lo yodea. Because if once Rashi disputes about something in the Gemara, what's the source? Yes.
I remember learning like it's also a dog in a dangerous situation, like the rabbi is by a dilapidated building or something like that. So could it be that like in Tefilat like the first 4 parsos, according to Rashi, is not a dangerous situation, but once you're past that, it's dangerous. So it's not like a Tefilat at the end. It's like usher to daven.
Because the makom sakana, but you don't know what's the makom sakana for sure.
But maybe that's just like a. It's a fence.
Well, that's all you say.
I think the dangers. I think the dangers are closer to the city. If I get a chance to be Halacha, I'll say something. I think the dangers are closer to the city. That's where the robbers are. They're not as much wandering on the empty spaces. I think. But today is different. I'll get to later on. Yes, Raj.
No, that's pretty much the robbers.
According to Rashi, would you have to make this, I guess, request if you're a Shliach Mitzvah?
Shliach Mitzvah?
Yeah.
On both sides. We all know that Shluchim Mitzvah Inan Nizokim. Nachon? Soldiers fall in battle. Not a simple thing. Source number 9. Other possible nafkaminas. So the Orchos Chaim, the continuing, the Orchos is very interesting. He has a couple of points which are quite intriguing. Look what he says. V'shalut al Migdav el Ram, that's his Rabbi Nishmato Eden. Lama Tefilat HaDerech chotemet bebaruch v'ina potachet bebaruch. So the minhag of the Orchos Chaim's Rebbe was that he would not begin Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha. That's what we see here at Tzom. Now, why wouldn't it begin with the baruch? So that makes it a bracha smucha chaverta. Reminding everybody, I'm sure that you guys all know, you guys know brachas. Bracha smucha chaverta is when a bracha is juxtaposed to previous bracha. It doesn't have to begin with baruch. Right? In the brachot of Kriyat Shema, right? The first bracha of Baruch means what? Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Mecholam, Nachon, begin bracha. Then it concludes with B'chav Yisrael Be'ava. Yitzhar Me'orot, and then what? Ava Rabba, or Ava Tolam Mitzvah. Right? That doesn't. The second bracha doesn't begin with the baruch because the samuk is juxtaposed to the closing of the first bracha. Bracha smucha lechaverta, smucha which next to the bracha doesn't begin with baruch. So the Orchos Chaim Rebbe said, why don't I begin Tefilat HaDerech with the bracha? Because I always do a samuk with bracha. So one of the brachas down the semina. In other words, when he went on the journey, when did he say Tefilat HaDerech? In the morning. If he knew he was traveling that day, and I know I came here this morning from the Beit Daniel, and I knew that I was going to travel with Bezrat Hashem, so according to the Rav Tzemar, I should have said Tefilat HaDerech then. I say Berkot HaShachar, Samach Haberta, Yiratzon. That's why Yiratzon, the Mitzvah HaDerech doesn't begin with Baruch, Samach Haberta. That's very interesting. If the bracha of the that it's a prayer specifically for dangers, does it make sense to say Tefilat HaDerech during Birkat HaShachar? I don't know. But if the bracha is like Rashi, that is asking Reshut, then saying Birkat HaShachar makes a lot more sense. It's one of those brachas that you say in the morning, right? You're thanking God for this and thanking God for that, and you're asking for this. And you're also asking Reshut. It becomes a different type of tefillah. It's not bakasha. It's not protect me from the journeys. Journey, that's in 5 hours from now. But if it's a general bakasha to relocate in this world, I think it makes more sense to our Chaim's Rebbe over here. Yes, Shalom.
What does that mean to be asking God like permission for something you're not getting an answer? Do you understand like in the terms of like a beracha? Like God bless God for anything you may have. You're not saying open Hashem for attention on God and halachik. You're saying please let me know you see.
You're right. I agree. Because that's like it. You're right. That's okay. It's just that I say, God, can I go on the journey today? I'm not going to get an answer straight from Hashem. So the way that we formulate it is in the format of the Tefilat. But the essence is, as Noam said earlier, Abakasha, Reshut. I think that's the only way to understand it. Look at source number 10. Another, continues Orach HaChaim. Uber od, Adam ha'olech chutz la'ir, ino tzarich litpalat lazuk, im pa'am achas, b'tchilat hayom. So that's an interesting thing, practical halacha. What happens if you're making a bunch of journeys in one day? How many times do they Tefilat HaDerech? It says you only make it once. Even if you're stopping in the way, you're journeying along the way, and you stop in a city, and you rest. When you leave the city that you stopped in, you don't have to make Tefilat HaDerech. That's by the way, Psak. Psak is you only say Tefilat HaDerech once a day. Now again, I'm just suggesting the Triple C. I'm suggesting that if the Tefilat HaDerech, the essence of Derech was as the Bhag suggested, prayers that God should protect you on the journey, I would have thought that every single journey presents its own dangers. Different roads, different people, different robbers, like that, different terrorists, chashal. So maybe you might make a bracha every single time, every single journey. But if the bracha is a general bracha, that I want to move from A to B, it makes sense to say once a day. In the morning you say, and all the brachas of Shachar, you say once a day, all the brachas of Shachar. Shlosani Isha, Shlosani Goy, Shlosani Yavi. You say once a day. It's not every 2 hours you have to say the bracha Shlosani Goy. Once a day you say, Hashem, I want to be traveling. Is it okay? And that makes a little more sense that you say once a day. Yeah?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to say that Rashi's opinion to maybe say the Birkat HaShachar, can you say that the Yehirat Sonam you say is like kind of similar to that, because we're saying to rescue me from evil that comes my way. So is that how
I'm saying it's silly. Just strengthening the argument that the Orchos Chaim Rebbe makes sense to this part. It's part. It fits in with that tefillah. Nachon. Before we see the last couple of stories and see a few other things, I just wanted to suggest again. I'm just thinking out loud with you. If you remember the Gemara began the Tefilat HaDerech Lashon Yachid, singular, and it was changed by Abai to Lashon Rabim, to Tefilah. So here, I don't know. What do you guys think? Lashon Rabim, Matim or Rashi or Behag? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. And you there. Maybe Lashon Rabim is better according to the Behag, that you're praying for all the people who are traveling. If it's Rashi, I don't know. I'm thinking a little bit more. Maybe. I did some little research, and the source for Tefilah in general is this Gemara. The source in general, I said Rishon also in Achronim. The source for the fact that a person should always daven in plural, include himself with other people, is this Gemara. So maybe I don't know. I'm so confused myself. Is it more like Rashi, more like a general Tefilah, or more like bad Tefilah? I don't know. I'm just thinking. Yes.
If you're saying that we should, if you say that we should say the Tefilah during Birkat HaShachar, then according to the Bahag, wouldn't there be kind of a risk that it's a bracha she'eina tzricha?
No, that's what I'm saying. It really makes sense. It makes only according to Rashi, for sure. That was my argument. I think it only makes sense according to Rashi. Yeah, that's my argument. Yes.
I guess my question really was if we already say that, why would you have to say?
Because that's specific. No, it's too general. I'm sorry. That's what I think so. So Rabosai, several people asked. Yeah, yes, Tyler.
I mean, according to the thing that says that you can only go, that you could only have until the last parsa to say it.
The first parsa. You only have to the first parsa. That's Rashi.
No, but isn't there the opinion that you can say it until the last parsa?
Yeah, no. So it's brought down until when, if you missed the first parsa, until when can you say it? That is, you saw there are different formulations. Once until you, as long as you have a good amount of time. 1% within a parsa of the city. Okay.
So according to that thing, if you're destination to multiple cities,
right.
Is it strictly based off the first city that you go to, or is it the final city?
So I'm going to try to get that. That might be on source number 12 if we get there, because I should finish soon because we have to see him at 12. So let's see how we go. All right. Rabosai, some people ask Lamaisa the function of distance or time. What do I mean by that? So a parsa takes a certain amount, 4 kilometers to walk. Clearly, you can drive it a lot faster than that. What happens then? What is the determining factor in this regard? All right? Is it the matter of distance, even if you're going there in a matter of minutes because you're driving there, or is it the amount of time that it would take to walk? That's the amount of time that you say that would generate for the HaDerech, even if I'm driving. Okay? I'm thinking out loud again. If it's like Rashi, that I'm asking Hashem's permission to travel, I would presume that it's more a question of distance. Even though we saw that it's very difficult according to Rashi to say there's a minimal distance. If it's going to the Bahag, it's a matter of sakana, that I'm praying to God to protect me on the dangers, you can make an argument either way. You could say the longer a person is on a journey, then the more dangers may arise. So it's a question of time. Or you can say it's a matter of distance, that the longer you travel, then the more dangers may arise. I don't think it's barur if it's a matter of sakana. If you look in the source number 11, the Mishnah says the following. He clearly says it's a matter of distance. Right? It says close to the city. This comes up. Some guys were mentioning this before. That he says that close to the city. You know, it's not so dangerous. It's not so dangerous close to the city. I guess there's people walking around. You go into you start making a journey, and then you should say it. Then he says in the second line, it doesn't make a difference if you travel by boat or if you're traveling on land. What's a misilat habarzel? Light rail. No, it's a train. Right? Barzel is iron, misilah is tracks, train is a train. יש לברך תפילת הדרך, אפילו נוסע רק פרסה. ולפי זה שזה לכתחילה תכף שמתחיל לנסוע לברך ברכת תפילת הדרך. Right? So the Mishnah clearly says it's a matter of distance. Even if you're going for a prasad, so you say the tefillah straight away. Why? Because in minutes you'll go the distance. So this is the critical factor is the distance and not the time. I'll just very quickly traveling between cities. The Maisa, the beracha pretty much asked that question. What happens with the cities along the way? I'm going to conclude in a minute because I want you guys to break before I have the Shiur, and I want to review what we did. I'll just say this. The beracha says, what happens if you're traveling by an area of many cities? Some people ask today, these are all the questions that are quite immense nowadays. Some people say, well, maybe you shouldn't, if it's a matter of danger, and that danger is only generated when you're leaving a city, well, what happens if wherever you drive, there's cities? So some people argue, in fact, you don't have to say Tefilat HaDerech anywhere in Israel. Because wherever you travel, there's going to be more cities. And you're always within a parts of that city, so to speak. Now, I think I see Tefilat HaDerech every morning when I come in. And the reason is, of course, because nowadays it's not a question of are there robbers or on the way, right? You can say, well, okay, so if there's cities over there, maybe there's fewer robbers. The fact that cities on the way would generate a Torah exception. But there's other things. We have to live in the world we live in. There are traffic accidents. That happens, unfortunately, too much in this country. And therefore, one can argue that if you're driving Yeshivat to Tel Aviv or wherever it is, and if there are cities along the way, there would still be an obligation. Because certainly if you're praying for Hashem to protect you, we need protection from these things as well. I'm going to conclude with that. I didn't read the beracha inside, but I'm going to save time right now. But we'll say what we saw is the following. We saw the Maisa is that we demonstrated that the Rashi and Gahag, based on what Noam suggested and based on the Yeri, debate about the essence of Tefilat HaDerech. According to the Gahag, it's just straight up question of praying for safety on the journey. And to that end, a journey is defined as a parsah. As opposed to Rashi, who says the purpose, the formulation is a prayer to protect, but the essence is asking Rishut from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to relocate in this world. And we suggested that there might be several nafkaminas between Rashi and the Bag. For example, the Bag clearly requires a minimal parsa to generate the obligation. Does Rashi require that? We saw this not so simple, right? Could you say Tefilat HaDerech during Birkat HaShachar? Not so simple. Maybe according to Rashi, yes, according to Bag, no. Right? How many times a day should you say it? That could also be enough kamina. At distance of time, I said the jury is out of there, lo ba'um. What about today? Lamaisa said, as I said, today living in Israel, I think, unfortunately, if you follow the news, traffic accidents kill many, many more people than terrorists do in this country. It's a terrible, terrible situation. We should always be careful, we should always be selfish, Hashem's protection. And I think it's proper to say Tefilat HaDerech in Israel whenever you make a journey. You should all have safe journeys, all travel, and have the beracha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.